All right, so we're live, guys. Welcome,
Hey.
everybody out there on the other side of the internet. I'm Jeff Kiani here with John Kitchens and our two special guests for today's Agent Spotlight interview, Steve and Kelly McCarthy, all the way from California.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good.
Nice.
Excited to be on. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to have you guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time and jumping on with us.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, guys, why don't you just tell us a little bit? We're just going to get right into it today and skip all the house cleaning matters and stuff and get right to the good stuff. So, I know you guys, it was an interesting story as I was reading some stuff that I had found on different web pages, and you guys have been featured in a few magazines. And so in reading some of that, I learned that you guys both used to deliver mail for the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. I was better than her, a little bit faster, but yeah.
So what about the dogs? Did you ever run into any dogs that really, like we all have this perception of dogs chasing the mailman or the mailwoman away?
Yeah.
This will be fun. So I had 16 miles of walking and literally complete, like it was the ghetto of our town to deliver mail. And I fought dogs like all the time, like physically fought dogs and never got bit. Like all my coworkers had been bit before, like literally all of them. But I got bit by her dog at home. My first dog bite.
I got bit before.
Yep.
It's not fun.
Well, so needless to say, after that, you found your way into real estate. I think if I remember right, just by investing in some properties first. Is that right?
Yeah, so separate, before we had met while we were at the post office, we both decided we wanted to be real estate investors. I read that Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I think it broke everybody. So I decided, that working for somebody else was not going to work for me anymore. So I started studying for my real estate license, thinking that would put me in front of the deals. When back then, like I literally knew nothing about nothing. So I thought, oh, if I have a real estate license, I see everything first. I can buy whatever I want. And Kelly was doing it separately. And then me and Kelly came together, found out we were both studying for that for the same reason. She actually wanted to invest in real estate as well. So we got our license, and then we realized pretty quickly that you actually do need money to buy investment properties, which we did not have at all. So we thought we'd sell a few houses, and actually found that we actually really loved doing that. That was something that we were really good at. Our first listing was $1 million listing, which was the first $1 million home in our town. We got it right away. It was nice and easy. Sold it in 2 days. So we thought, oh, real estate's easy. We'll just do this right here.
We didn't know what's supposed to be hard because it just started off so easy.
You just don't know what you don't know, I guess, back then. Yep.
Sometimes for that bad behavior, right? Sometimes we do, and just like
exactly.
Hey, I was just going through Darren Hardy's habit assessment thing the other day, Kitchens, and so you nailed it, man. And sometimes you just got to take a look at what we're doing. But I want to point out one thing there, guys, and this is for everybody out there. It's something that I think. And Kelly, you mentioned it. I can tell it's part of your philosophy because I heard the exact same words that you just verbalized in the articles and stuff and on your webpage and elsewhere. And that was that you didn't know that it was supposed to be hard. And, 25 years ago, I sat down at my first cubicle and I was given a list of telephone numbers and was told to just call it. Well, what about I just call it, right? And I can tell you to this day, the reason that I made any success from there on was because I didn't know it was supposed to be hard. I didn't know like all the stuff that I should complain about. I was just somebody told me to do this and I would get X result, and I was naive and just did what they told me to do, and I actually got some results, as opposed to trying to figure out my own way or something like that. And I think, you guys probably did what everybody told you to do because you didn't know any better, and it sounds like that probably worked out well.
Oh yes, I think that's what made the difference for us was we didn't know it was supposed to be hard. We didn't listen to anybody else. It was me and her out on our own, walking the streets every day while we're delivering mail, consuming content. Like all we did 10 hours a day,
podcasts and stuff like that, listening
to positive people.
And we stayed away from the people in town, the water cooler agents, because we just didn't have time to be in the office all day because we had a job. So we were just listening to the people who knew what they were doing, and we're just like, you just do this and that. And that's what we didn't know. The market, like when we got in, the market wasn't great. We didn't know that. We just thought, oh, you just go do this and you sell houses. It's easy. And that's what we did. And we didn't know until later that, you know, we got in at a bad time. We weren't supposed to be doing as good as we were. And everybody's like, who are these new people? Where did they come from? You know?
We got a lot of haters like really fast. We're like, why does everybody hate us?
I love it. So I want to highlight a couple things there real quick, Jeff, in that hopefully everybody caught it, right? Was that plugging in and listening to only what they wanted to listen to and cutting out all the noise, but listening to it when they had no extra time, right? They're out, they're working, they're doing their thing, but they're listening. So, you know, they're really consuming and taking advantage of that time. Whereas most people won't do that, right? And so like we even talk about, Jeff, like, you know, in our commutes here in Dallas, you know, what are you listening to on that commute, right? Are you taking advantage of that time that, you know, we've got an hour commute, sometimes an hour and a half commute, and what are we listening to, right? What are we consuming that's helping us grow and get better? And then the other thing in that we always point out to anybody new getting into the market is that you've got to get out and know the market, right? You guys had an advantage.
We had a big one.
You knew the market, right? You knew the streets, you knew the homes, you knew the areas. So like you could really articulate that at a high level of what's going on in the market. And instinctively, you might not have been aware of that, but I want everybody to point that out, is that how important it is to get out into the market, know the streets. I always laugh about the story with my dad when we hired him in Lawton to do some courier work for us. And my dad had lived in the same town for over, 50 something years. And he came in and I said, hey, this is the Garmin days, right? And I said, hey, you got your Garmin with you? And he's like, I don't need that. I've lived here my whole life. I know where. Okay, yeah. You're going to learn today, Pops. And he should have been back like in 2 hours. He came back like 4.5 hours later. And I was like, what was that? He said, well, I'll make sure to take my Garmin with me next time. I was like, yeah.
Can I touch on what that actually did for us though? Because you're right. And we didn't know at the time, of course, but when we sat down and the client, is talking about, hey, I used to live on such and such street with whatever. This one right here will say, you used to live at 12789 Wolf Trail right across the street from Mr. Joe Black, or whatever. And at first they're like a little freaked out, but then they just assume that this one right here is the expert in the neighborhood and knows everything that's going on. And that played strong for us. It was completely creepy, and you could see a little bit of, our potential clients getting creeped out. But, talk about really knowing your neighborhood and who lost their husband recently and just sold down the street and why that house sold for so much so fast. They were avoiding foreclosure. She knew it all, so it really helps to be the expert like that. And we were accidental experts because of the Postal Service.
I love that. I love that. Accidental experts, but, not accidental in your intention to go get knowledge, right? You weren't waiting for anybody. You intentionally went out to seek the knowledge, and then, in turn, you became the experts. And I think it's beyond just like, oh, I know my market, like the average home sales price, and here's kind of, no, it's like knowing the details, like the addresses, and remembering that conversation that I had 2 years ago with somebody so that I can build a story out of it. It's like way deep. I used to tell people, if you ask me right now where the next deals are coming from, I can tell you. I don't need, nothing drives me crazier than being in a meeting. So where's the next deal? Well, I don't know. I got to go look. And I eat, sleep, and breathe it. If there is anybody who is close to saying yes, I know their first name, their last name, their phone number by heart. I don't have to go to the computer and see where my next deal's coming from. I live in it. And so, that's what I hear from what you guys are saying, is that you didn't just know the 30,000-foot view details. You knew it down to the curbside. And then when you're talking to somebody, you've got the context that like nobody else is going to have that conversation like Kelly was.
Competitive advantage. It's a huge competitive advantage when you know the market, and sometimes getting into the market when nobody knows you is absolutely critical, right? We've shared that was Jay's secret to success when you're super young getting into the business. It's what he's got Braden doing right now, and it's just a great lesson. If you're brand new getting into the market, study the market, become a student of the market, because when how you're able to really gain some authority and some influence is being able to articulate what's going on in the market. And then the next step is how you can help them, save them some money with their investment if they're looking to buy, sell, invest, whatever within the market space.
So So it's a good start. I mean, we got some good stuff covered. We probably stop it right now and take my page.
Just go get it done for the post office. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but let's, back up for just a second. And since we've said all that, now let's just set the scene. So I think it was 2013 when you guys got started. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
13, 14.
No, we started, we got our license in 2012, but we didn't actually start selling until 2013.
Yeah. We went
Good. So 5 years ago, not long. 5 years ago is all we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Some 15,000 days or something like that. And then, so give everybody the context of where you're at. I mentioned you're in California, but give us the lay of the land and what it looks like in your market.
Yeah, sure. It sounds like it's like a lot, and like kind of what Jay went through in the beginning. We sell about 2,000 homes a year. We're at, I don't know what you would probably know, around 60,000, 70,000 people total.
Yeah, it's a pretty small area, just a bunch of small towns kind of grouped together is our MLS in our marketplace. We're just north of Sacramento, so Northern California, about 30, 40 minutes north of Sacramento.
We have 1 month of inventory. Like just to give you guys a little bit, like expireds, we see like 3 pop up a day on the MLS, and 2 of them are pending. And that there's like maybe 1 to 5 a week that are actual expireds to deal with. And over time, like when you go back to 2006 or 7 or 8, and you're pulling all the expireds to call and stuff like that, after a while, you've touched on, almost everybody if you do it consistently for a long time. So like, that's kind of like a dry thing for us where, they've either eventually came back on the market and sold, so even going back's kind of hard in our market. And I'm sure it's probably hard everywhere with the market going up for so long. But it's a very small town. There's over 1,000 agents in our town. Everybody knows somebody that's an agent. And then there's maybe, 20 agents that are pretty decent producers, maybe 30. I guess in the top 30, you'd probably see somewhere between, 20 homes a year on up to, 100 and something, low hundreds. So that's what we're dealing with in our market.
Let me ask you this. I want to touch on, and I'm glad that you brought up it being a tight market. There's not a lot of opportunities when we come to, expired campaigns and stuff. But first off, regardless of how many are there, did you guys prospect expireds?
Yeah, and it was our bread and butter for many, many years. Like we stayed on them, we would hit them. And like, part of that's not knowing what we didn't know. I called all the, the big ones at first, of course, because I was only going to do luxury because it was so easy for us, right? We landed a big one. So we had all these, the top end of our market in our pocket. If we didn't have the listing, we had the owner saying, yeah, if you bring me a buyer, we'll sell it or whatever. So we actually took buyers to their houses all the time. So we used that. No one else was really calling them or staying consistent because what we didn't know was the market was bad. So they thought they would just spend a bunch of money on marketing and never sell a home. We didn't know that. We thought it was pretty easy. So we did hammer expireds for forever. Yep.
And so that's interesting. So I think that Kitchens, you can elaborate on this, but I think what's really interesting there is a lot of agents aren't calling those expireds for a whole bunch of different reasons. Set aside the fact that they don't know what to say, they're scared to make the phone calls, whatever. That's 99% of them, right? But then the rest they're not doing it because they think, well, there's not a lot, or everybody else is doing it, or whatever. And I know that there are people out there joining us today and that will watch this later that are in that situation where there's not a lot, so I don't even bother.
I'll tell you just from my own experience in this small market, it's so small that I know who else is calling them, because when I go through a list of 200 to 300, I'm seeing, oh, dang it, Rick got this one, and this one. Like he beat me to that segment of the list. Yep. So like you think everybody's calling them because we're supposed to, but there's very little people that are actually doing the work, which is good. It's an opportunity.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, right, Jeff? And you hit on it right there a little bit. Was just the mindset, right? The scarcity and the fearfulness, and they won't do it without, and they just don't have the confidence to make the call, right? They don't have they don't even have the scripts. They've never even invested in themselves and the training. But even if they do, you got to catch them, right? It depends upon which season of the business they're in, right? And it also depends on they get to a point in this business thinking that they don't ever have to do that again, and then they won't do it. And so what we also experience and what we see is that if they do, they get a bunch of deals under contract, then they're focused on servicing and taking care of those deals. So they're not making calls during that time. And then all of a sudden, whoa, I ain't got nothing on the board. Oh, I better make those calls again.
It's tough.
It is. It's tough. The key with success, right? We talk about this. The number one success trigger out there is our habits. And are we staying consistent with our habits daily? Even if there's one a day coming up, we better be the first one calling them. Right. And so it's just building that habit muscle to where we're staying consistent. We're making those calls. That's how we get off this little revenue roller coaster, real estate roller coaster, whatever we want to call it. We're all familiar with it. We all know it. We've all experienced it. So what are we doing consistently every day that's boring, but we just know it's the right thing to do, and nobody else in the market's going to do it. I mean, you can be out consistent over somebody more consistent, and you'll win. You'll separate yourself just because they just won't do it. They won't follow up. If they do it, they won't follow up. And that's where you guys can get them. You can just be more consistent, build a better habit. And even if you do have one expired, and yeah, Lawton is similar, right? We're very similar. Stace maybe has, like you said, two or three expireds that are worth going after each day, and that's it. But he goes after them. He goes after them relentlessly goes after them.
You know, and what I always tell people when we're on a coaching call or something, we're talking about the expireds, especially in a low market, is it's not even about like what I get right now. The fact is that, 97% of those expireds that you do talk to, whether you have a lot or a little, aren't going to list today or tomorrow. They're taking some time off and you got to nurture them for 90 days or something. But you never even get that person in your pipeline if you're not making the calls on day one. Right. And because if by the time I make the call, if I'm going to make it, some other agent like Kelly and Steve have already got that person on the phone, got them in the pipeline, started to build rapport. They got campaigns triggering stuff to that person. They're top of mind. And so you're way behind the eight ball coming in late. So even, it's not just about what can I get today from calling expireds as far as an appointment goes. You're building your pipeline of opportunities that are going to list with you later, likely. And so I think it's important to just keep that in mind. And, so you guys were delivering, knocking on doors, maybe to deliver the mail. Now you're knocking on doors, introducing yourself, talking about selling their home a little different. And so 2014, you guys are just starting. I know some of the struggles you shared with us before this call were trying to get some lead gen strategies started and getting consistent with whatever those strategies were. Tell us a little bit about, in a tight market where there are so many agents per capita, I would imagine per capita, it's probably pretty formidable. So how did you go about generating leads for you guys and kind of creating a niche for yourself in that tight market?
Prior to coaching or before?
Prior to.
Okay, so what we did, another advantage we had is we had a job. So the money that came in from real estate, wasn't something that we needed at all. And Kelly and I weren't into buying shiny things or anything like that. So we took all that money and we bought everything. If you can imagine the amount of sales calls we get each day, like you guys get them too, I'm sure. They would call us. They would say, I have leads for you. And we would say, where do we write the check to? So we bought everything and leads were flowing in. But the problem was back then we didn't know what to do with them. If they didn't say, we didn't get them on the phone and they wanted to buy or sell today, that money was gone. Like there was no follow-up. We just didn't know what to do with all that stuff. So we had a ton of leads back then. We should have done way better than we did, but we just didn't know what to do with all that.
Yeah, and the leads that were that we actually had that were good were the ones that we were actually producing ourselves. We didn't know.
Yeah, it was all
we just didn't know what we didn't know. So like the leads that were good were the ones we were going out and hustling for, and the leads that were bad were the ones that we were trying to buy. Because what we're listening to all day is these very successful people.
Selling products.
Yes, selling products and doing really well. And we didn't know that we weren't supposed to be that far ahead. Like, we were where we were at and it wasn't good enough for us because we weren't studying the people in our market that are just selling a few homes a year. We're studying these people that sell a ton of houses a year. So everything that we did wasn't ever good enough.
Yeah.
So even though we were doing really well for being new agents, we didn't feel like we were doing well enough. So
because Jay came to selling 500 homes, and we're like selling like 10. And we're like, we're doing great in our neighborhood, but look at Jay. So we would come home and be like, we suck. We just thought everybody that was putting in any kind of real effort they're selling 500 homes a year.
So, and Kitchens, I want to get your thoughts on that, but man, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on that, Kitchens.
So a couple of things that came to mind right there is not staying complacent, a continuous learner. And so I think that's another great lesson to take away is that, it's Jim Rohn, right? What's the percentage of income that you're allocating into yourself, right? Paying yourself, investing in yourself and making that investment. And that's what they did. And I think the other key there was that they did not come across desperate, right? So they are, like she said, had the revenue, had everything else coming in. Personally, they were fine. So they were able to take that investment. But when they're meeting with clients, they're coming across really trying to add value and help them accomplish, not coming across desperate. And I think that's a huge lesson for any agent out there, especially agents, especially when times get tough in the season of our business to where, we're fighting, hey man, we really need to get this deal, but we have to be careful that our tonality and our body language does not come across that way, right, Jeff? I mean, you're the master of this when it comes to tonality and when we're talking to prospects and talking to, potential clients, is that, we've got to be careful because that's where that salesman stench will come out when we sound desperate, right? And then that tells, right? That doesn't attract. And so those were a couple key lessons right there that I heard when I was listening to what Steve and what Kelly were talking about. Yeah,
I mean, I used to love when I had a whole bunch of, when things were good, core capital we talked about, before, but even when I was younger and just say when I had a pocket full of money, I could ask anybody for any deal in the world because I didn't care. Right. I mean, that's when if you can create that mindset, whether you got the money or not, you're unstoppable. Like, I don't care. Hey, Kitchens, you want to say yes or no, dude? I got another call. I mean, it's up to you, dude. I mean, and people will, I want it. Yeah, they will. It's so weird, right? You'd think that you would repel people, like Kitchen said, but people gravitate towards that as opposed to, come on, what can I do, Kitchens? What can I do to earn your business? Come on, I'll do anything. Come on, give me a chance. Yep. Like, that's just not going to get you anywhere. So anybody who's out there on the phone, I mean, try that. Do something. First of all, do something that's uncomfortable for you. Try something different. If that's different, then try that, and you'd be amazed at what works. And I want to go back to the leads. I think you made an interesting point, Kelly, about the leads. The leads you were paying for were the bad leads, and the leads that you already had were the good leads. And what that comes down to me is, leads it's just a name and a number. That is it. You got nothing. You just have a name and a number. It's the relationship, right, that makes it an opportunity. And I think that your sphere, you had relationships and you probably thought of them differently, and you really cultivated the relationships with that, as opposed to the paid leads. Sometimes we're just thinking about, I'm calling to convert. They're not in my sphere, so I'm not doing I'm not building that relationship. But I think that is, in what you've probably done, and we'll get into it, but now you take those leads that were coming in before and just being looked at as leads, and you're now probably putting those leads into campaigns and communicating with them in such a way that you start to create that relationship, which is really where the return comes from.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So you guys, just so we can round off 2014, what were your numbers in 2014, your first year in real estate?
Our first year we did, I think, what did we do? 12?
I think it was around there, but the GC.
We did about 12
Yeah.
deals our very first year. That was 2013.
We were killing it.
We know the numbers. You actually were killing it. I mean, back then, Kitchens, with the average agent was probably selling, 5 homes a year, probably not much different than today.
Yeah, it's down.
In our area in 2013, that was actually pretty good. We didn't know that. We didn't feel like it was pretty good, but it was actually really good.
Right.
So, and then moving forward. So I'm really interested in, your listing side of your business. And by the way, if you were to give a number to the mix on buy versus sell, what percentage of your business is listings?
About 75% is listings and 25 buyers. And it's weird because it's about the same for our sphere. It's about 75% of our business.
So here's my question: there's not a lot of listing opportunity. There's a whole bunch of agents all fighting for it. You're in a small market where, within 3 miles, who knows how many call to actions I see for real estate or whatever. So how do you manage to continue to build your listing business despite all those, competition and all those other factors? How do you separate yourself from all that?
I think it's we're always looking for that opportunity where other people are always waiting for the phone to ring. We're always looking for the opportunity. And then we have a competitive advantage when we go into listing appointments because we learned real quick from Jay, to know what the other agents coming in to present to them and dismantling that prior to, so we've used that from the beginning, even before we could afford coaching with Kinder Reese. Like we used that strategy. We heard it on, something that he had done. So without even knowing the details of it, we were already doing that. So we won, and especially in the beginning, we always won listing appointments.
There's something about we always go on list. We do a lot of our business separately, but a listing appointments is something we always do together. And there's something about having both of us. If one of us can't connect to the seller, then the other one can. Or there's just something about having both of us there that we play well off of each other, and people just see us being real. And just a married couple sitting down with them to sell their house. And I don't know, people like that.
And we're intentional about that connection too. Like if we can find some Facebook or something, and not to be fake with the people, but if there's something that we see in the background or something, some way, or even walking through the house where we can grab, something to connect with them. Like we're really big on that. Like we walk to the house, we're not looking for, what repairs they have to do. We don't care because we don't have the listing yet. So what we really focus on is building that rapport with those people and connecting with them on a deeper level, so that we're that person that they want to work with.
I just want to say, Kitchens, I know you're going to have something to say about that, but I want to point out it's one of the things on my pre-appointment checklist is to go stalk their social media profile.
Yeah.
There's going to be some pictures, whether it's, hey, they like the Cowboys, or, they eat a certain, you can just, let's face it, any bit of information I can get gives me an advantage. So I don't think it's weird at all. What about you, Kitchens?
No, it's the whole rapport connection, and social media just gives you a competitive advantage. And it's there. It's a resource. You're either using it or you're not. And we prior to we had to walk up and pay absolute attention to every little detail, right? What car was in the garage? In the driveway, what was in the garage? What was hanging in the garage? What was outside? Was there something that I could connect with, right? We're paying attention. We still need to do that, but you also have resources that are available to you, and you want to be able to do that. I think too, a couple things that Kelly had mentioned was, going in and being absolutely real, right? And I can attest to it. These are, Steve and Kelly are two of the most realest people that I know. And so going in and just being genuine and being who they are, right? That's why people are able to connect with them. And then one thing that I want to make sure everybody picked up on, and I always hit this, especially with couples that are in the business, that are running, an organization working together. And it could be, siblings, just whatever relationship dynamic is, that you have to divide and conquer, right? And Kelly said that, hey, I have my lane, Steve has his lane, but we know that we have a higher probability of winning the opportunity when we go in together. Cool. But we also understand that we have our roles and responsibilities separately, and that's what we're focused on, right? Kelly's in her lane. Kelly can freaking implement like crazy. And hopefully we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's just part of the continuous learner. Just like, man, I'm going to figure this out, right? That's her lane. She gets in it. She figures it out. Steve's in, he's, got to hit the phones, right? Got to prospect, got to stay on top of it, right? He's in his lane. And so I think that's just really important for everybody to understand, is that you need to figure out your lane. You need to know what your role and responsibility is. What is your function? You need to get in it, and you need to run. But also there's times to where we know we need to come together. And that's one of the things that they've uncovered, and it works well for them. And I've seen other dynamics to where it doesn't work well.
So let me ask you about this, and I'm looking up on my phone because I'm contemplating whether or not to show it, but I'm gonna tell you it's funny. So if anybody saw the email for this webinar registration or call or interview, spotlight interview, it said this husband and wife team is crushing it or whatever. A couple different things mentioned that. So it's funny when you see some stuff. I know in the chat room here we've got a few people on. One of them, Michael, is the husband and wife team, and so I want to just shed a little light on, like what difficulties you guys have run into being working in that dynamic and kind of how you've managed it, because I know it's not like it's all sunny and roses all the time. I'm sure, just like if me and Kitchens worked in the same office right next to each other all the time, there'd probably be times when we might have some friction too. And it's funny because also I was going to show you this email this morning. I'm looking at the emails and there's an email from somebody, we'll call him Mr. Anonymous. He goes, the headline is "This husband and wife team is crushing it." His reply to the email is BS. My husband I work with my wife and it's terrible.
Yeah.
That was the email back. So, for everybody, it maybe isn't the best situation. So tell us how you guys manage that.
We use a bell. So I ring a bell and then Kelly just does whatever I say. And as long as you use that, it's perfect. Yep.
No.
Maybe the other way around.
We have our struggles and everything, but Kelly will give her input, and like you say, stay in your own lane. She'll give me input, and then I think it's, after a while you learn. At first you're defensive when you hear input from somebody, you take it, personal or whatever, but we slowly learn that, this is the one person that's got my back, that cares about, whether or not I'm successful. So, eventually you learn to take a second to let it hit you, and then really listen to what she had said, to me, and then find, is there, some truth in that? Is there an adjustment to make? Because, I respect her. She's one of the smartest people I know. So it's just getting, used to taking the criticism. And then, like John said, having real roles and responsibilities. Like when a 3-year-old starts screaming in the background, one of us got to jump up. But
it's ringing that bell.
Yeah, ringing that bell. After we get off this, I'm probably going to have a bell stuck in the side of my head. But in coaching, it was something that came up, and John, I think it was you that was real clear with us. We have to decide who's wearing what hat. So we took that serious and we did that. And why we're able to work so well when other people aren't, I don't really know. We spend so much time together. And for us, it's an advantage because our end goal is the same. So we're both trying to figure out how to get there every day, and nothing else matters. We bump heads all the time. We're both strong-headed people and everything, but we had to get used to just getting through that, not taking it personal, and getting past it. It's not that we don't immediately feel, criticized or something like everybody would, but we have to get through it fast.
Man, it sounds like a team to me. What about you, Kitchens?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. They nailed it, right? And the first step is getting clear on who's doing what, right? What is the roles and responsibilities? What are we going to cover? The other key thing that you have to there's two other critical components when you're working with your spouse. One is that you always have to assume positive intent. And just know that maybe your spouse or your significant other is going to say something to you, right? Just and it's like, you can't take it as, you can't take it to like, holy man, they're coming after me, they're attacking me. It's like, hold on. One, I'm going to assume positive intent. This person is coming from a place of love. They're coming because they care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't be there. So what is the intent, and what are they trying to say? And how can we communicate better, right? So this is what another thing that we always stress and talk with Steve and Kelly about this as well, is that you have to have structured communication. Just because you're together every day doesn't mean you're communicating. So you have to have structured communication to where you're really sitting down and you're dissecting pieces of your business. And so that's what, our impact zone meetings. So we're having our meetings, and within our meetings, we're clear on what the objective is for that meeting, and we're communicating through those touch points, and not just leaving it up to chance, not leave it in passing, because I promise you, you're not communicating the way you need to communicate to move the business forward. And Steve, you nailed it right there at a second, is that you guys got clear on what the goal was. what is the goal for the two of you personally? And then what is the goal, how does the business align to that? And then how can we work day in and day out to get to the goal, right? And that's why we're just assuming positive intent when they're making a statement. And those are just some things, man. You have to focus on how we can communicate better to really alleviate any of the potential issues that can arise with somebody that you're with 24/7.
Yep. And if I can, real fast, you were talking about, coming together and structuring communication and having that impact meeting. For us, we have 6 kids, 4 of them still in the house. Like, there's a lot of chaos going on and stuff. We will actually go get a hotel room in our own town and stay there just to work on goal planning or whatever it is, just to create that space for us to actually do that.
That's awesome.
That will help somebody out there that's a married couple or a partnership or whatever. If you can create a space to just get away and really focus on nothing other than the process you're trying to create or the goal or whatever it is. I mean, getting together like that out of your regular space is just amazing.
What are some other points for you guys that you can share that have really worked well from a communication? I know, Steve, you shared. Kelly, what are some really of the good dynamics? Because this happens a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot of married couples that they think it'd be a great idea to get into business together, and then it doesn't always end well. So, like, what are some of the good things from your perspective that really helps you guys to thrive in the business going and in the juggle of the family and everything?
Like Steve said, number one is just remembering that you're a team. You're like on the same, you have the same goals, like he was saying. That's important. And just being lenient on things. There used to be a time where I'd be afraid, we're supposed to help hold each other accountable. And John, he goes,
that's your fault.
He makes us do that a lot. Well, I used to be like, Steve, did you make your calls yesterday? You know what I mean? Like, he would get really mad at me if I was holding him accountable. He did not want anything to do with me questioning him on his, in his avenue about what he'd done. Mm-hmm. But John, he's constantly saying, you need to make sure Steve's on it, because you guys are a team and somebody's got to hold him accountable for doing that, or, he's just not going to do it. So now we're at a place where I can, without hiding, I can be like, did you get your calls done? How did that go? And I think it might have been my approach or something. I'm just not that warm and fuzzy person, but he takes it as I'm trying to help him get there instead of me questioning, what he's doing. You just kind of got to change your approach on things and come in a loving way and remind him that, you're doing your stuff. You can be questioned. I can be questioned on my stuff as well. And I'm not going to take that, to offense. And so, it's just the way you approach things and remembering that you guys are doing it together, because we get it a lot. We have a lot of people that come to us and be like, how do you do that? I would strangle my wife or my husband if I work with them. So, we get it, but it works for us.
And the flip side to change your approach too is on the receiving end, like you're already feeling guilty because you didn't create the time to get the calls done or whatever that commitment was. And then you got to be real careful, like originally, like she was saying, I would take it out on them. Well, why are you jumping on me? That whatever. But it's realizing that she's doing her job. She's the one that's actually caring about what's happening right now, not you if you're coming from a defensive space. So you got to take it.
Yep.
She's I think that's the key. Like, we know it's our issue. It's my issue.
Exactly.
It's your issue, Steve. Like, I know I didn't make the calls and I'm already dealing with it. Like, but it's easy for me to deal with it internally. Like, if I have to see a 0 on the board, or if I have to hear Kelly come in and ask me about my calls, that's different. That's the outside world telling me what I didn't do. And that's much harder to live with than me. But I'm already struggling because I know, right? So it's like, if I didn't know that I messed up, it wouldn't be as bad when the world tells me I messed up. But I'm trying to hide the fact. I'm already feeling guilty for it. And then when the outside world tells me, it's like, oh, my secret. Now I'm really mad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are some really good points. And a couple people here in the chat room asked a couple questions. So I know Michael is he's in a small town in Pensacola, and it's a husband and wife team. Him and his wife are just starting out. And his questions were, what do you guys do from a branding and marketing standpoint in your area that really works? And I don't want to get too many questions at one time, so let's just try to answer that one for Michael. As far as branding and marketing in your area, obviously being small, what works best for you to get the best response, penetration into your market?
So for us, I would say, like, first of all, branding was something that was a out the gate focus for us. It was somebody that we listened to while we were at the post office, gave us, the importance of that. So it sank in with us. So all of our pictures and everything have always been designed to be able to move brokerages or whatever it is and still have a consistent look. And then I say that, like, we constantly run, like, even though there's no ROI, so to say, on branding, we will spend money on branding through, social media. We've been in local magazines, or we've been on Comcast TV. I wouldn't recommend some of those things, by the way. But, it was that important to us that we spent a lot of money up front, making sure that everybody's seeing our face, our name, and our message, which, keeping that in front. We even created some of those, like, fake billboards and stuff and ran those. And we have people tell us that they've seen it. We're like, well, that's pretty amazing.
Social media is huge for us. We have people, because we're in such a small town, it's like everybody knows each other. So, most people know us, and they just say, we see you guys are doing so well, and we see you guys everywhere. But what they're seeing is just our, we're keeping up on our branding and social media, our souls,
videos,
videos, things like that. And people are like, we see you guys everywhere. We see your signs all around town. We are very strategic in, like, we will work really hard to get a listing. We work really hard on all of our listings, but if we know it's a listing where it sits on a main street in town, we will fight tooth and nail for that, because it's important to have your sign hanging on a street where people are seeing it all the time. We had one right next to the mall in our town, and that was huge for us. We actually sold it twice. So we got to hang our sign there twice. We sold it for the first owner and then the second owner. So that was huge. So we really fight for those listings where it's going to get a lot of traffic, because our town is so small. We have to think about those things.
And I just want to say, anybody who's on, go check out their Facebook page. I stalked your Facebook page last night. And you guys I can tell you that there was a post like almost every day. I remember from the 27th of February to today, there was almost a post every day. I saw some really cool stuff. Like, you guys were doing some events at one point. I came across something that was Thursdays. There was some Thursday meetup that you guys were doing. It looked like, probably getting people all together that are in your database. So go to their Facebook page, Michael, and anybody else who's interested to get inspired on some ideas. They had some really good stuff on there. And I think key was the consistency. It wasn't like a week ago they posted something and then back in January they posted something. It looks like they're doing it pretty consistent. And so from a branding perspective, I mean, that's probably this days you're going to get more eyeballs there than you are just about anywhere else. And then I love the fact that you guys were thinking so forward. Talk about planning. Like, I'm not worried about getting the listing. I'm worried about using that listing to leverage the other listings we're going to get down the road. Like, that's thinking ahead, right, Kitchens? I mean, that's really impressive.
It's critical, right, to become that dominant force in the market, right? You've got to, how can you leverage anything, every little thing that you're doing, how can you maximize it? And a couple things there. This will help Michael, is that what Steve had said was, the consistent look. Steve and Kelly are the brand, right? McCarthy is the brand, and staying consistent with that. Consistency is everything, right? So staying consistent with your look, your activities, your efforts, your posts. When you do that, it gives the impression that, holy moly, these people are doing everything. They're everywhere. They're constantly, there's something going on, right? So that allows us to creep in. Remember, in the consumer's mind, they can only hold two spots, right? Number one and number two. So you have to position yourself as the number one or number two go-to source when it comes to whatever niche, whatever it is that we want to take over mind share. Because once we have mind share, then that's where the market share starts to come after that point. So it's key.
Yeah.
So another question from Brett in here is, what's your scripting on expireds?
For expireds, I'll usually call, and I don't have like your guys's where you guys have the same thing you say every time or whatever, but I'll call and I'll ask them, I'll be like, I guess I could try to do one real fast. It's kind of awkward.
I love it. I'm a role player. Let's do it.
I'll be like, hey, John, this is Steve with McCarthy Real Estate Team. I was just calling you. I seen your property expired today. Were you still thinking about selling your home? And they'll tell me, oh, this or that or the other. Okay. And then I'll ask them, so why do you think it didn't sell? And they'll usually tell me whatever thing it is. And what I'm really looking for is some kind of solution that I can be or whatever. And then I'll tell them, Kelly and I, this is kind of our specialty. We do this all the time. Not all agents are created equal, so what we consistently come in behind other agents that have failed, and we use our process to, sell their home, sometimes for even more. And then would you be open to sitting down with us for 5 or 10 minutes and letting us show you how we can do that? And that's it.
So, right there. And even so, we had an introduction, right? He said who he was for everybody watching. And then he asked some questions. He delivered value. And then most importantly, he closed by saying, when can we get together? And so just from a simple framework, that's what it really is. Introduction, get their attention, be smooth, clear, person of authority, right? Like Jordan Belfort says, those 3 tenets that you need to get across in the first 7 seconds. Sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, and come across as a person of authority. Once you do that, I got to know what the situation is. And so you nailed it. Why do you think the home didn't sell? Where were you moving in the first place? Where did you plan on going? Were there any issues that you thought might have had a negative impact on the sale? Did you like your agent? What are your plans now? Do you know what your agent did to try to sell the home? All that stuff. I'll take as much time as I need to have that conversation and resist the temptation to go straight to, let me tell you how I can help. I want to get a full understanding of their situations, their wants, needs, and desire. And then I can position myself to solve whatever maybe some of those key problems are, and then go for the close. And so, Brett, that's kind of the framework. And, we can get you a script. We have our expert advisor scripts. All of our coaching clients obviously get access to all that. But that's kind of the framework.
You could really help them in that area, Jeff. And for me, I'll just tell you what's going through my head when I'm on the phone with an expired is I'm trying to get them to talk and let me know what their problems are so that I can find some way to be the solution for it. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about them personally through that conversation. So everything that I say or do to them, and it's going to change during the conversation with different people, but my goal is to get them to speak on what went wrong and what their plans are and how I can be a solution to that.
That's good, man. It's not, everybody, it's not, I'm going to tell them how great I am, and I'm going to, sell.
Yeah.
No. All right. It may be a different world, a different thing that might work, but not here. And the last question that we have here is Stephen. This is a good one. So how do you guys manage the personal life with children and still manage the sales and the administration process? And do you have assistants that help you handle paperwork and stuff like that?
We don't. We have a TC that we use for transactions and stuff like that, but we don't have an assistant, even though we probably should at this point. And there's a lot of chaos. My 3-year-old son has an office within our office. He travels to a lot of places. So we try to make it, like to us, it's not so much work like a normal job would be. We enjoy what we do. We try to take the kids with us where we can.
Take the kids with us
a lot. And so if we're going to a listing appointment 40 minutes away, we try to find a nice place to have, dinner together in that area. And it might be 9 o'clock. Sometimes they have, yep. And like we were in another town yesterday or the day before, but there's a big park there. So she planned out a day at the park or whatever around listing a house, so we try to bring the two together as much as we can. We do have date night, and thank you, John, for that. We don't always hit it, but we do try to.
It's fun when it comes up in our calendar on our phone and we're not at our date night and we're working, and then I just give them the look.
Yeah.
but we do try to get our alone time once a week too. We don't always hit it, but we do try it. The other thing is we love to travel, but we travel so much with like NAEA and going to the EXP events and stuff that it's mostly work events. But what we do is we take the kids. So we plan our family vacations around our real estate events, and then we just stay a couple of days after or go a couple of days early and just have, like we did that when we went to the Bahamas Mastermind. I mean, we brought all the kids, so there was all, the 4 at home and us, and we, they hung out at the hotel while we went to the Mastermind, but then afterwards it was all play and we stayed later. And so we do that. We're going to do that in June when we go to the EXP shareholders. We'll take them to Disney World while we're in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to
Our kids travel
mix
so
them
much
a lot.
that they fight over who has to go to the Bahamas. And I got a 3-year-old that'll be like, where do you want to go to lunch today, son? You get a pick. He'll say Mexico. Like it's kind of sad a little bit that they have to be so involved with our business, but we also have kids that that they don't really want to go to college. They want to be in real estate. They want to be involved with it. They see the good and the bad. Like my parents, there was never a problem, and mom and dad, if you watched this, sorry, but there was never a problem. They worked. They never told us about struggles or bills or anything like that. Where our kids, we don't know how it's going to work out, but they see that if you don't do the work, there's no money. So you have to that they're learning as we learn, that life's real, and I don't know. I mean, it's different. It's not easy for sure, but we love it, and our kids are around us all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are setting a good example with the communication. I mean, there's nothing harder than to communicate effectively in a work environment, let alone being a married couple as well and having that other layer involved. So if you can communicate through all that, man, it's a really good example, I think, that you're setting for anybody around you, whether it's your children or it's a team member. That's a good example. And I know we're getting Kitchens. I know we're getting here close to the end of the call, and you've got to jump. But I want you guys to sum it all up. Let me ask you 3 kind of lightning round questions. So let's give everybody the picture of where we're at today. So remember, in 2013 or whatever, we did 12 deals. So what did we finish 2017 at?
Well, we have a team now. Our personal production was 64 transactions.
65.
65.
2018.
Yeah. So, and then, we have a team. Things are pretty good. Our market right now, we're struggling in our own market with the listing side. We're very buyer heavy right now. So
It's not normal
for us.
Feels weird,
but in those struggles, like we found time to really go back into, the back office, and Kelly has become a master of lead gen and bots and all this stuff that I don't understand, which has been amazing for our business, So I think we're in a pretty good place.
So what's the goal for this year?
We want to do 100 by ourselves this year.
Yeah. And 162
for our
team.
We have 5 on our team.
Yep. All brand new. This is the first year where we've had team members and stuff. Well, we had one team.
So it'll be an exciting year, and I know you'll be helping them along the way. Kitchens. They've been.
Yep.
How long have you guys been coaching with Kitchens?
At least two and a half years.
2.5 years, something like that. Yep.
Wow. And what's the biggest game changer for anybody watching right now? What's been the biggest game changer for you and your business that you would say, man, you got to do this?
Oh, well, first, okay, get a coach. Like hands down, get a coach. This is going to sound fake, but the very first day, I told you we spent all that money in the beginning. The very first day we got a coach, he says, okay, well, where's the money going? Simple stuff that, we know now and we manage now, but we didn't at the time. Where's the money going and where are we making our money? We didn't know that stuff. We had to go through everything that we're spending money on. We saved $32,000 the very first call, just by cutting out all the stuff that wasn't working.
For the year.
So having somebody there to keep you accountable, and that's already been through all the struggles. And John's such a high level, he's John has helped us so much. He knows everything that we're going to face, so he can help steer us, in the right way. And we save so much time and energy, just knowing what to do next. If I have a problem, I have somebody I can go to that has already helped other people through that. So that the biggest game changer by far has been, having somebody in our corner to help guide us.
And until we could afford to have a coach or thought that we really needed a coach, we were modeling other successful people. So, if you can kind of get out of your own world and see who you want to be like, because we had to get out of our area to be who we wanted to be. It was not somebody we could find here.
No.
So, you know, getting out of your own world and mimicking people who are where you want to be until you can get a coach. I mean, it's important to just kind of not do what the people that you're surrounded by are doing if they're not where you want to be.
It's easy to not do what you're supposed to do until, you know, it's Monday night, Tuesday morning, you got to call your coach. You don't want to tell somebody, you know, hey, I didn't do the simple stuff that I was supposed to do, you know, and you can't say, oh, well, I've got this great excuse, because you know that man's busier than you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it really helps. So thank you, John, for everything you do for us.
I appreciate you guys.
Well, we want to thank you both for taking time out of your busy day and taking some time away from your family there to join us today. And you guys are crushing it. We will have another one of these soon and stay along with you guys on the journey and see how we finish this year out. I'm sure you do well, and Kitchens will be a part of that. Kitchens, any final words before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, just appreciate you guys, like Jeff said, taking the time, jumping on with us. You know, definitely, you know, I encourage anybody on the call, you know, if they're a husband, wife, you know, family dynamic, you know, I know you guys are super, super giving, that you can definitely shed a tremendous amount of insight and help people steer them away from some of the potential icebergs that can be hit. And, you know, definitely there's a way to be able to work with your significant other, spouse, and really thrive. And you guys are definitely modeling that, which is cool.
And they can just call us. Just pick up the phone and call us if you want to chat about some of that stuff. We couldn't really go into too much detail in a limited time, but we'd happy to share what didn't work for us and what does work for us.
Man, that's awesome. And for anybody, you know, it probably all started with Steve and Kelly with the clarity call. And anybody on the call, you probably saw an offer pop up on your screen here a couple minutes ago, giving you the opportunity to schedule your clarity call. And so if you want to dig deep and you want to get some clarity, you know, if you're not where you're at in your business, it's probably just because you haven't learned something yet. And the clarity call is all about figuring out what you need to do next and in what order to do it all in. So if you're interested in getting clear today on what to do tomorrow, take advantage of that clarity call option, and let's get you on a phone call with one of us so we can start getting clear today. And we can hook, if anybody wants to send an email to one of us, Kitchens or myself, we can connect you with Steve and Kelly if you want to get some insight on some other things they're doing. By the way, Steven, I know you just asked about how they automate the follow-up process. Maybe we can give Steven a 60-second answer on how you guys automate the follow-up process.
That's all you.
We use KV Core, and I set up drip campaigns. We use our not the one that KV Core comes with, but Chase Mayer, we use his drips, and we drip them. And then Steve, of course, is the one who gives them a call, and I just make sure that, you know, everything email-wise is working how it should and up to date.
Call.
Call, yeah. Nothing replaces an actual conversation. As much as we try to just automate everything, nothing replaces the actual conversation. So, you know, your system, they're using KV Core, whatever CRM you're using today, if it's at a minimum quality, it should provide you the opportunity to create some action plans and some nurture campaigns where you might have to spend some time on the front end. Like Kelly didn't just do that in 10 minutes. But, you know, if it takes you a few hours, a few days, a week, a month, whatever, to get those plans dialed in, I mean, writing the copy for the email templates, thinking it through on, I want something to go out the first day and then 3 days after that, and take the time to plan that out on the front end, regardless of how much time it takes, because it's going to save you uncountless. I mean, you can't even count the time it would save you on the back end. I mean, if you've ever sat down and tried to send an email, sometimes you can stare at that cursor for 5 minutes.
Yep.
So,
and the people come back to us from those drip campaigns they feel like they're already connected to us. You know, they think they've been talking to us. We have to try to figure out who they are.
Yeah,
you know, so they're very powerful.
So leverage your system, guys. I can't tell you how many agents I talk to that say, I say, what CRM are you using? Well, and they usually have more than one. And then it goes to, I don't really log in that often. And so they definitely haven't created the nurture plans and stuff to make that part of the job easier. So spend some time in your CRM and investigate those options when it comes to plans and campaigns. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us. And everybody else who's on the call, thank you for joining us. A replay will be available within 24 hours that you'll be able to access. And if you have any questions or you want to get in touch with Steve and Kelly, you be sure and you email me or John Kitchens, and we'll get you hooked up. Steve, Kelly, thank you guys, and
Thanks, guys.
enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Jeff.
All right, bye.